I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending July the 25th, where you had feeder cattle and calves selling $3 to $8 higher, with the full advance on your yearling feeder cattle, which your yearlings, after the 2 weeks, and we had that big hiccup last week, and we weren't really sure if the market was topped out and going to fall out of bed. But late in the week last week, we started to get some signs that there was still a lot of support in this market, and this turned out just to be kind of a knee-jerk correction right there, and kind of a speed bump, if you will, on the way to the moon for these feeder cattle prices. But through those 2 weeks, through that little hiccup there, your yearling feeders still actually gained some ground as opposed to 2 weeks ago. But calves, which were 5 to 10 lower last week, still selling weaker than 2 weeks ago. So the full support is on your yearling market, but calves were a lot higher too. But you know, despite the naysayers and all your technical chart readers and everybody that was getting kind of scared of the heights there and thinking that this deal was over, there's just too much demand for cattle and beef products right now at every level. And as long as there is still more desire to own additional units of those than there is availability, we're going to keep getting higher and higher and higher. And just because we're in beyond the stratosphere and into prices that we've never seen or never even dreamed of before does not mean that this thing's ready to turn around and go back down. But market ready fats, cattle that have been in the feedlot for 130, 40, 50 days or more that are ready to go to slaughter, the supplies of those are extremely tight right now. And the packers can't hide the fact of how much they need cattle anymore. This week they come out on Wednesday night and start calling around, and Thursday morning several of the feedlots that we talked to had heard from all three major packers before 7:30 in the morning. And they needed cattle, they needed to buy cattle and get some things secured. They sold cattle about $6 higher there on Thursday, but by Friday, when the bulk of sales had taken place, your late sales on Friday were a full $9 higher than last week, with live sales from 164 to 166. And a lot of us never thought we would get over 160. This is by far an all-time record high. So we wondered if we'd ever see 165. We just, in 1 week, we jumped and leapfrogged all the way up and now had sales at 166. And a lot of wild sales in your feeder cattle arena this week too. On your northern livestock video out of Billings, Montana, a really nice video there. Watched that this week on Monday and Tuesday. A lot of really fancy sales there. You can sure see signs that these long-time ranchers up there and those real high-quality cattle are sure rebuilding mode right now. You just see consignment after consignment with no heifers for sale at all. And a lot of the bigger ranches, bigger outfits, the heifers they do have for sale, it's the second cut of heifers. So we're starting to keep a lot of heifers back, and so give it 2 or 3 years and our numbers are going to start building back up. But the biggest sale I saw on there was the Galt Ranch there. It's White Sulphur Springs, Montana. Had Wagyu cross, Wagyu bulls, which is a Japanese breed that marble real well, with Angus cows. The steers and heifers both sell at the same price to weigh 435 pounds in late October, bring 402.50, which is very impressive, but not any more than Bassett, Nebraska on Wednesday had 136 head of fancy steers weighing 600 pounds at $3 even. I'm not a mathematician, but that's pretty close to $1,800 per head. And then in Mitchell, South Dakota, just as impressive, they had nearly 400 head of big, rangy, large frame, thin flesh grass steers weighing 1,000 to 1,100 pounds, and they averaged 206.39. But your cutouts were very strong this week and allowed for this fat cattle deal to happen. Your cutouts, choice versus select, they gained from $8 to $12 this week, and these wholesalers just found themselves short bought. thinking that this backup would come along and they'd be able to get some of these beef products bought cheaper, but it didn't turn out that way, and so there was real good demand. Not a heavy movement, because at these prices you're not going to see anybody jump out there and really secure a lot of product, but your cutouts have been strong, so this meat is selling at these prices. Your cattle on feed this Friday come out with July 1st inventories in the feedlots at 97.6% of a year ago. The average guess was 98.1, so that's a positive for the cattle market. Placements come in during June 93.8%. The average analyst guess was 96.2. That's very bullish. Your marketings during June there was 98.2, which was even a positive compared to the average guess, which was 97.9. Your mid-year inventory report come out. Didn't have one last year because supposedly we didn't have enough money. But all cattle, as of July the 1st, 95 million head of cattle in the United States. That's down 3% from 2012. Beef cows, 29.7 million, down 3% from 2012. Replacement heifers, which I found this a little bit odd, 4.1 million head, and that was down 2% from 2012. And if I remember right, 2012 we were having a big drought across our big production areas, but still numbers come in 4.1 million head down. And the calf crop, which they did get a number from last year, was 33.6 million and down 1%. So there's sure less cattle around. We haven't started building the numbers up yet. Regional weighted averages in the north central states, an 8-weight steer cost you $221.04 compared to $214.49 last week and $147.69 a year ago. Down in the south central states, a 7 to 8-weight steer cost you $218.56 compared to $212.82 last week and $146.89 a year ago. Down in the southeast, 5 to 600 pound steer cost you $230.270 compared to $229.98 last week and $147.15 a year ago. That wraps up your feeder and stocker cattle market summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. And from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.